you also have a generation who've been purposely bred, I mean bred and raised on video games, kill, 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 who wins, guys with the black uniforms, I want power, I don't want to be on the losing side. And that's a generation that's grown up now who wear the uniforms. They're perfect for this time in history. They're bred and created for this time in history. And when their job is over and there's nobody to beat up and put in prison, then they're disposed of too.
Well, that's why in all the really internal Pentagon documents and FBI documents, it's the veterans that they hate the most, because that's a killing machine that we've statistically noticed after 30 tends to wake up to what happened as they become more mature. We've got to focus on them. We've got to bring them into our VAs. We got to shoot them up. That's why they all use delay kill weapons on them, like DU and things that are perfect to kill you 10, 20 years after you get out. It's all been actuaried. It's all been figured out perfectly.
Yeah, after the Vietnam War, the U.S. did put out some drafts about that thing. They're afraid that these guys, now that they're fully trained in arms and warfare, they might turn on the government. So you've noticed since about 1980 onwards, they started to experiment with these drugs on all the troops across all the countries, by the way, for NATO. And give them drugs which makes them hallucinate. They have flashbacks. They go berserk when they come back home. And
they give them pills. They give them pills where they, quote, don't remember the bad memories. Mm-hmm. And please continue.
Yes, and lots of them are physically wrecked by the injections they get. They become crippled with all kinds of really old age diseases. They come down quickly with osteoarthritis and things like this.
But as long as the globalists run TV ads with jingoistic how much we love the troops, and if they're on the airplane, the pilot says, thank the troops that are on board, not let's not steal their pension funds, let's not inject them with cancer viruses. It's as long as we tell them we care about them. Again, it's perception is reality.
Everything's run like a big assembly line, really. And all they have to get out of the troops is maybe 2 to 4 years. That's all they need them for. And there's always a fresh bunch of unemployed to take their place. And it's an ongoing thing because really we're self-sustaining, basically. And
they want insecure poor people who feel like they were nothing. They take them, sleep deprivize, shave their heads, classic cult brainwashing. Then they tell them, you're now built back up. You now serve the system. You live forever. But really the system sees them as a worthless animal, as Henry Kissinger told them. Are you animals? Do you have the will to look at the enemy program and understand who they are and join the Republic and defeat the globalists? Or will you serve your own destruction?
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones, only on the GCN Radio Network.
I really love the banter back and forth with Alan Watt because it really illustrates how serious all this is. We're going 5 minutes into overdrive the next hour. It's very frustrating and painful, though, to study this all the time, to know how real it is, to read the books they write about how we're scum and they're going to win and it's a total revolution. They've taken their time. That they're so dedicated. They're so hateful towards humanity. They hate each other as well. And it's because the gullibility of good people has allowed this to happen. And now it's all coming to a head, but a lot of positive things are happening in the awakening as well. Alan, in all the news you've been seeing lately, what strikes you as most important, in the current diversions that are going on? The attempt to start war with Pakistan and China, or where do you see all this going?
They're already at war with Pakistan. They've been giving them polio vaccines now that are giving the Pakistanis polio. That's out in today's news. And through the World Health Organization, which is used as warfare purposes too. That's what the UN is, in fact.
Oh, everywhere they go, they inject them with live weaponized, they kill them, it's freedom.
Yep. And also, and at least the Pakistanis are waking up. What I see now, though, is that the big banks who own all the big multinational corporations that are going not only into big bombs and so on and drones, they're also going into all your surveillance. They own all your surveillance systems. They're now giving over, but it's an article here, but from the Scotland Herald, the newspaper, they're privatizing the British military's nuclear arms industry. That all the bases with nuclear armaments are being given over to Lockheed Martin, a private company. So this is the start now of the takeover of the same big bunch, the private consortiums taking over literally all of your armaments and running the bases. They're the bosses over the governmental military. That's happened already. So that's been agreed in Britain to give it over lock, stock, and barrel, nuclear submarines, all the Trident missiles, everything, to Lockheed Martin to run all these bases. So we're seeing it going exactly the same way as Quigley said, a new feudal system, and the CEOs of the corporations are the new feudal overlords. You know.
By the way, I've got the Natural News report, and they've got links to UNICEF admitting it. 78% of Pakistani children with polio were given polio vaccines, and we saw that the last, well, really 50 years in a row, but every year it's little AP, CBS News articles. We put them up last year. Oh, the UN accidentally gave weaponized polio orally or by shot to kids in Brazil, kids in South Africa, kids in Pakistan. It's an accident.
The ones that gave them in Nigeria, the World Health Organization, was the oral vaccine, and it's a live vaccine, polio. And they ended up giving them a new strain of polio to which there's no treatment at all.
Oh.
So they're being killed off, and that's, again, what Kissinger said. He said...
and they do it out in the open, and they get caught over and over again.
Yeah.
But somebody kidnaps one kid, the police are on the news, everybody's freaking out, Fox News, the government cares about you, this one child. Meanwhile, they're murdering people en masse, giant child kidnapping rings, killing whoever they want, spiking over 100 million Americans, the CDC admits, died from cancers, viruses, SV40 in the flu... in the polio. I mean, it's all admitted. But people won't wake up to the murdering going on.
I can't believe it. They cannot believe, because they watch TV and their comedy shows and their familiar faces and their favorite newscasters. They can't believe that human beings they cannot believe there are human beings completely different from themselves who run the world. They cannot believe it, that monsters could do this. Therefore, they don't want to believe it, and they choose not to.
Yeah, well, there you go. I was even unaware of the latest Pakistan round. For 4 or 5 years they've been there injecting them with live polio. And then Pakistan's government's paid off. They let the UN in to continue it, and the UN's been caught injecting kids with HIV. They've been caught, I mean, but again, they're the UN. Miss America likes them, so it's okay. I mean, come on. Paralyzing and killing kids is loving. Come on.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
All right, final 5 minutes. We got to have Alan Watt back for a full hour, maybe even longer, very soon. Because he's so spot on with his analysis. CuttingThroughTheMatrix.com is his powerful website. A lot of great audios up there. His books, DVDs, it's all absolutely vital. But just a short example here. With my firstborn 8 years ago, we searched, and Googled mainline pediatricians that won't push vaccines on you. And we found one of the biggest ones in Westlake, and I went there, and the guy had a couple doctors under him. He's since retired. And after my second child was born, I'd known him a few years, taking him to the doctor for the yearly checkup and not taking shots. He goes, listen, Alex, don't tell anybody I told you this. Don't use my name. But, doctors are supposed to volunteer once a year, and I do, that for city clinics, we're giving the 1970s oral polio vaccine that's illegal to give in the U.S., but we were ordered to do it, to the minority kids that has the live SV40. Well, I mean, that's ongoing. And in fact, it isn't the old vaccine. They make new. It's done on purpose. And as you know, Alan, it embeds itself in the cell walls. It triggers when hormones drop, generally at about 55. So you're done working. Now here's your cancer. And even if it doesn't kill you, you spend all your savings to them. And we know the Rockefellers 80 years ago pioneered cancer research. But the issue here is, here's all the mainstream admissions and this Natural News article, they have 9 different links to mainstream news admitting that the UN is giving the kids polio. I mean, these are murdering eugenics killers on purpose. And how do you warn the public about this?
So difficult because it's such a massive campaign on television all the time, even through fiction as well, and dramas and movies of how wonderful doctors and hospitals are. That's their impression. Same as cops and detectives and so on. It's all propaganda. So it's very hard to get through to them. They don't want, again, they cannot believe. And that's a domesticated public. They're domesticated. They believe what they're told because they believe that there are superior, intelligent beings living above them who take care of all the big problems. That's what socialism really is. And they've all been socialized into this system. So they cannot believe that experts would ever do anything deliberately to harm them. And so they'll eat anything that comes on the shelves, any kind of candy. They never read it. Oh, they'd never give us that if it harmed us. It's the same with the cell phones, too. They'd never give that to us if it harmed us. And that's how domesticated the public generally are. They can't think for themselves.
And now they're telling us, oh, we knew 30 years ago it increased all these rare brain tumors that are now common, and we're now putting all this wireless microwave in everywhere, and it's going to kill you, but we told you so.
Yeah. And you have to think for yourself. You have to be an individual. If you cannot be an individual, then what are you? You're part of the common herd. And the common herd are domesticated and socialized.
Here's my final question, Alan. We got to have you back soon. Why do these social engineers have a universal rule that they've got to tell you what they're going to do to you before they do it?
Because it's legality. Everything that they admit to you is a legality. It's your choice whether you take heed the warning or not. And literally, they want you to consent to your own death or destruction or injury, whatever it may be. They want your consent to it. Consent is a legality in the law. Even silence is consent by law. So they're telling you, and if you're one of the wise ones, you'll take the heed, take the hint, and do the right thing, and not take this or that or the other. So that's how they like it to be. They don't like future historians to say, we forced people to do this. They like to write it the way people were warned, but they decided to, and this is what happened to them. Millions died, or millions died.
Every culture has the same parable to describe reality through fiction, that the vampire, whether it was the Latin Americans or the Greeks or the Japanese with the vampire, that the vampire has to tell you he's coming and has to trick you to give him entrance into your home. Yeah,
everything is contractual, really. And you sign a contract or buy silent agreement, so that's the same as signing a contract to go along with
Alan
voting. Voting is a contract to allow tyrants to do whatever they want with you.
CuttingThroughTheMatrix.com, our site's Infowars.com. Alan, we'll have you back very soon. Thanks for spending time with us. Retransmission starts now. Mega Rant, straight ahead.